Hi guys, it's Lily. I'm sorry it's been so long since my last video. I've been waiting for what feels like about 10 years for my new Hobonichi order to arrive so that I could show it to you. It got stuck in customs for like 10 days, but now it's finally here. Yay! So I thought instead of doing an unboxing, I would do a couple of different videos showcasing the different things that I got. So this is the first one, and as you can see, this is the A6 Avec set, which is basically the same as the A6 Techo, the A6 planner, the Japanese version, but it's divided into two. So instead of carrying around the whole year, you get half the year in one book and then the other half of the year in another book. So I kind of went back and forth trying to decide whether to order this or the full year version. Last year, for 2015, I had the full version, which you've seen, you've probably seen in some of my earlier videos. And the thing about that one is that it gets really bulky if you're putting stickers and washi tape in it. So this was actually the reasoning behind the invention of the Avec, which I think is really cool, because the Hobonichi company noticed that people were struggling with their techos getting really full, either if they were like watercoloring or pasting things in them. And so they invented this set, which is exactly the same thing, except that it's split into two, so that even if it gets quite bulky, and I don't have my 2015 Techo with me to show you, but it got like to be about twice the size of the original, just because the paper is so thin. This is Tomoe River paper, like most Hobonichi products. And the paper is so thin that if you put stickers or washi tape on it, you're actually like kind of doubling the size. So if you imagine, if you're using this for a year, the full year version, which is like just a little bit thinner than this, it really kind of ended up being like that. It's like really fat, which is not necessarily a problem, but mine kind of felt like it was at like a 90-degree angle, and it wasn't even, it was only actually about 6 months through. It was the spring version. So yeah, so in response to this, they created this version, which is split into two, so that even if you put a lot of stuff in it and it gets a lot thicker, it's still very manageable. So when I ordered this, I wasn't really sure what I was going to use it for. I was kind of going back and forth between thinking I would be using it as my personal planner, which I'd be taking out with me, and using as something else. And so that was the reason I went for the Avec, because I thought if I was going to be using it as my planner and taking it out with me, I didn't want it to get too bulky. As it turns out, I'm going to be using it for something else, which I'll talk about in a minute. So I'm going to be leaving it home most of the time, and that won't be an issue. But I'm still really glad that I got this, for one thing, just to try it out, because I already know what the original is like. Secondly, because I think it's really pretty, and like the little books are adorable. So yeah, basically, if you know what the A6 Hobonichi original, the Japanese version, looks like, then you'll have a pretty good idea of what this will be like. But I'll just go through it to show you, because there are some differences, and just so you can get a feel for exactly what it looks like. So first of all, in size, this is pretty much a true A6 size, so half of an A5. They always call it postcard size, and I thought, like, oh, it can't be this. It doesn't look like the same size as a postcard. But I was really surprised to discover that if you put like a normal postcard, this is a postcard from Paper Chase, so you put this on, it matches it identically. So it's true. Yeah, so it's, if you think of a normal postcard, I think 6-inch by 4-inch postcard, it's exactly the same size as that. Because this is split into two, you've got, it's quite thin. So this is like, that's my finger. So you can see it's like a kind of little bit thinner than finger. I'm not sure how much it is in millimeters, but it's quite thin. Interestingly, other people have pointed this out. If you put the two of them together, they're actually thicker than the A6 original. So there are a couple of extra pages in here which we'll go through, but I'm not sure how to account for the overall thickness, because it is sort of like noticeably thicker if you put the two together. But one of them is just, it's incredibly light. They fit inside the normal Hobonichi covers. So if you've got an A6 cover, it fits fine inside that. I'll just show you, just to demonstrate in case you're wondering, because I kind of thought that it would look, kind of like it would be dwarfed by the cover, because the covers are designed to fit the original books, which last for a whole year. But actually it looks fine. Sorry, it always looks kind of scary putting one of these in, but okay, there you are. So this is the first half of the year in the cover, and it looks totally fine. The cover adds quite a lot of bulk to it. So like if you see this on its own, it looks so petite and it's really light. When you put it inside the cover, it kind of feels like it doubles the weight, and then it, you know, kind of adds a lot to the sides. And then this is with the plastic cover on cover, which makes it even bigger. I'm actually kind of thinking about using this outside the cover, just like that, because as I said, I'm going to be leaving it at home, and I really like how light and small it is, and I also like the cover colors. So let me just take this out of the cover again so I can go through it. So they actually mention on the Hobonichi website in the description that they chose these colors like intentionally to represent, I think it's like bark and the sea or something. It's very poetic. If you read the description, there was some thought that went into it. But yeah, so the first one is yellow and the second one is blue, and they both have this brown binding, which is different from the original. Again, I don't have my A6 with me, but I've got my cousin, and that looks the same, so I can show that to you. So if you compare it to the full year version, the A6 looks like this but smaller, so they've kind of gone for a different design. And so if we start with the first volume, so you see it says Hobonichi Chapter 2016 Avec. So Avec means with in French, and they chose this, they said, because they want it to be your constant companion and with you all the time. So I kind of think that that's nice how they you know, have these names that can seem kind of random, but they've had some reason for giving them. So if you open it, it's got a sort of creamy, like thicker paper. It's exactly the same as in the original. And then it says Hobonichi Chapter 2016 Avec. So I think it's not focusing, so I'm not sure if you can see that, but it has Avec in there. It's in lowercase. And I like this design. It kind of looks like two books, presumably because there are two of them. Then you get your 2016 and 2017 calendars. So a whole page for 2016, a whole page for 2017. I think, as far as I know, the Avec only comes in the January start, so you get, it doesn't come in the spring version, I don't think. So you get sort of the whole of, it's the whole of 2016. And you have gridded paper behind the calendar, which I think is nice. You don't really need it for this, but if you're checking things off, or if you're making like some kind of small notes in here, there's not really much room to make notes, but you've got like 2 lines between months and then 2 lines at the top. So you could, you know, kind of like make a couple of small notes, and so it's nice having the gridded paper, or color coding or something. If you wanted to, you know, like kind of map out different things happening during the year, you could make a color coding key at the top. And as usual for Hobonichi, it has Sundays in red and also Japanese holidays. Then we go into the vertical monthly layout, which I really like. I think that this works best for tracking, in my experience anyway, like exercise, or you know, kind of anything that you want to track on a daily basis. You could track water intake or anything like that, but you can also use it for planning. In my cousin, it depends on what you want to use it for. In my cousin, I use this section like kind of just to get a visual sort of, I can see a few months at a glance, like mapping out days. So yeah, it depends if you're using this for a planner or something else. Some people use this for an index to the daily pages. So you have 4 gridded lines at the top here, just below the month. And it has the month names in Japanese, well, which is just a number with month next to it, and also in English. Yeah, you get 4 gridded lines, and then this is gridded too, which I think is really useful, especially if you're writing numbers or something like that. I like having the gridded paper everywhere. So you get the first 4 months, and then you get another 4 months up until August, and then you get the rest of the year. So in fact, despite the fact that this only has half of the year, you get this whole year, which is good for forward planning if you want to write something down that would actually belong to the other book, to the second volume while you're in this. So that's helpful. Because I think one of the concerns, well, at least it was a concern of mine, with the idea of the Avec is not having the whole year. Like, I'm kind of used to the idea of having a whole year in one planner. And so just having half the year kind of feels a bit scary. Of course, if you use a ringed planner, I mean, it's quite common with ringed planners just to have a few months in at a time so that it doesn't get too bulky. So maybe it's not an issue for you, but I think the fact that it has this is quite reassuring, because if you were using this as a planner and you wanted to write something down, like, you still can if it's beyond the 6 months. So, you know, they've kind of got you covered for the whole year. Then it goes into the month on 2 pages. And this looks the same as the original version. So you've got 5 check boxes here on the top left, and then it's obviously all gridded paper. Monday start. So I'm just trying to think. I can't remember whether you can get this in a Sunday or Monday start. With the original, you can choose Sunday or Monday start. And I can't remember whether this one is as well. So I like the Monday start just because the cousin is only Monday start, and I find it really confusing sort of switching back and forth, you know, sort of with the cousin, I'm used to Monday being here. And so using this one in conjunction with it, it's like, it's confusing having this be Sunday sometimes, because I got the Sunday start last year for the original and that was confusing. So the month on 2 pages is pretty straightforward. You've got some space at the bottom here, 1, 2, 3, 4 lines for more notes. And because this is A6 size, it's pretty small. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 boxes, 7 grids, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 again. So, oh no, 6. I can't count. 7 across, 6 down. So basically, I mean, if you think, you could probably, depending on the size of your handwriting, you might be able to fit either 1 or 2 letters in a box. So you can only really write like 1 or maybe 2 words on a line. You don't get a huge amount of space. I think that it is possible to use this as your main planner, depending on, you know, like kind of how much you have to do. But I think of this more as something just for like, you know, kind of like recording individual things, like basically for tracking, another way of tracking, or just sort of very concise, like recurring appointments or something that you can note down, or like maybe color coding with stickers or something, rather than like, you can't really do a lot of planning in here because it's too small. But you certainly can still note down things. You could have a key over here if you did that. And so you get your monthly spread for nine months. It goes up till September, which again is like kind of, they're giving you a bit of forward planning if you want to record things in this format as well. But then the rest of the year will be in this one. And then you start off with the weekly pages. So something different for this year, as I understand it across the whole Hobonichi range, is that last year you had, it started a month early and you had half a page per day. So it had December, it would have had December in here. I don't know about the Avecs from last year, but the original had December with half a day per page instead of a day per page. So you got like 14 or 15 extra pages like that. This year they haven't done that, apparently in response to customer feedback that people weren't using them, which makes sense. If you'd had the previous year's Techo, you wouldn't need to use those because you'd have those you'd have the December pages in your previous year's planner, right? So you wouldn't use them. But it's a problem if you didn't have the previous year's one and you want to start early, because if you order this in like September or October and then you get it and it's sitting there mocking you, you really want to start using it and you can't, then it's kind of annoying that you have to wait until January. But I can see how it, it might have made sense to change it. I think that other people were also using them. I've seen people using those extra pages for like extra notes or kind of like more tracking or an index. So I don't think that it was wasted space, but I think that what they've done with it also makes sense. So instead of the this extra month, they give you one blank page of notes at the beginning of every month. And I think that that is really useful as well. So it says, let's see if you can see it, 1 January, and then it says remember this, and then it's got very faint lines. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see them, but it has like kind of faint dotted lines in the same color as the month's color. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 lines. And then you've got some more sort of like blank space around it. And because the paper is see-through, you can see the grid on the page underneath. So you can actually use that. You don't have to use these lines, which are a lot bigger. You can just use the gridded lines. And the lines are so faint that, I mean, the printed lines, the 12 printed lines are so faint that you can easily ignore them if you want to. And you can also ignore the remember this. So I think that this is really useful because you could use this as like a sort of like monthly goal sheet or a vision book for the month. That's what I'm going to be using this for. I've decided to use this as a vision and gratitude book. I was sort of going back and forth between using this as my personal planner and using the weeks, because I got a weeks as well, and I kind of felt like I had to see them in person before I could decide. So I'm going to do a review of the weeks next, and I've decided to go with that for my personal planner for reasons which I will discuss partly here and partly in that video. And so so I'm going to use this for like vision and gratitude. So I was planning to use this as a kind of like monthly sort of vision book, which I think it would work really well for, because it's there at the beginning of the month, and you sort of like can go to it and look at it throughout the month, and then transfer things over onto the new month. So you've probably already noticed, if you are familiar with the original, that this has the same color scheme. Both the A6 and the cousin have the same scheme. I'm not sure how well you can see it there, but you can see that this is tabbed, and the tabs are in a different color every month. So January is like kind of orange, like a burnt orange. February is brown. March is a kind of purple, pinky purple. April is pink. Then you have a like kind of olive green for May, and a sort of darker like gray green for June. That's all you have in this book. The other ones, colors are in the other half of the Avec. And the grid paper and like sort of everything on the quotes, sort of everything in that month is in that color. And I think this is one of the many nice features of Hobonichi, is that you've got this like color scheme. So every month you have a different color, and the colors are all really nice. So yeah, this is the 1st of January. So you get daily pages now. The Avec, like the original, doesn't have, like the A6 original, the original is the A6, doesn't have a weekly layout. You can get a separate weekly booklet that sort of goes with this and is a little bit smaller, I mean, sort of like a little bit shorter, and fits into the cover. And I've done a separate review on that if you're interested. So you can have a sort of the whole setup with a weekly spread as well as the daily, but in the actual books it doesn't have a weekly spread. The cousin is the only one that does. And so you go into your daily pages and you get a checkbox of 5 here, and then you have a timeline. This timeline has always seemed a little bit inconvenient to me. I mean, that could be just me, but for use as a planner, if you have appointments, so it does have 1 line per hour, but only every 3 hours are marked with a number. The other 2 are dots. And so it depends on how much sort of, time planning you have to do. I don't think, for me, this doesn't really work. I like the cousin much better on the weekly spread, which has every half hour marked out. But technically it's a 24-hour spread, so it goes from 4 a.m. until 4 a.m. here. So yeah, that's 5 a.m. You could write something in that box. So it does have this timeline. For me, because I'm going to use this just for writing sort of like good things that have happened or that I would sort of like to focus on. I'm not going to worry about these times. I'm just going to ignore them or write over them. The other thing that it has is so it's all like dotted grids, but it has this full line, like a sort of unbroken line here, which is quite faint, but it's sort of thicker than the dotted grid. So if you wanted to divide this up, you could, the idea is I think that you could use this for your like kind of timed appointments and this for to-dos, and then like this for your top 5 things or whatever. If you want to divide it, you've got this way of doing it, but the line is faint enough that you can ignore it if you don't want to do that. And as you can see on this page, it marks off in the like kind of not grayed out because it depends on the color, it's not gray, but like in a sort of faint print in the same color as the rest of the page if there's a Japanese holiday. So yes, so my plan with this is to use this for in the morning. My goal is, because usually when I get up I'm like always like, I'm so late, I'm in a hurry, I have to start work, I have all of these things to do, and like, why am I so late? Because I always sleep until the last minute. So my goal is, my idea is to like get up and write down a few things that, like positive things that I'm expecting to happen during the day. Sort of like to, I don't know, to have a nice start to the day. And then here, sort of like in the middle or the end of the day, to write down some nice things that have happened that I'm happy about. And then here to write in like kind of maybe at the end of the day, like the top 5 things that happened during the day. Something like that. So yeah, it goes on, you have 1 day per page and it goes on like this. And I'll just show you February so you can see what it looks like at the beginning of the month. Again, you've got this, again, remember this, and you have your lines. So you've got that every month. And it has quotes. The quotes apparently are the same as the quotes in the original and the cousin, Japanese quotes. Apparently the English version has the same quotes as well, but in a different order. I heard that on a video from Romany's Realm. And it goes until the end of June. So you have 6 months, and then you have 1, 2, 3 pages of blank gridded paper. This was another reason why I decided against using this as a planner, was because I wanted to have room for notes, and my current Filofax Pocket, which I'm using as a personal planner, like obviously, you know, because I can add sections, I can have room for notes on like videos and stuff like that, and this doesn't really have it. You kind of have to put everything on your daily pages, which I thought might be a bit awkward. Another thing about this that kind of puts me off using it as a planner is the fact that it only has the monthly and daily spreads. So obviously you could get around not being able to see your week by using the month for planning things out, and then you'd kind of have you know, like an overview. But having a daily planner, to me, it kind of feels like it's like you're blind. You can only see what's going on that day, and sometimes, well, yeah, that day, and sometimes the day after. If you're on the left-hand side of the page. Now, obviously, this is not an insurmountable problem, because I had a daily planner. I mean, for years, I kind of alternated between a weekly view and a daily view, and I never even thought about the difference. I just was happy that on the weekly view I had more space. The daily view I had more space to write, because my planner is always quite small. And in fact, in 2014, I had a daily view as well, and that didn't bother me. But as soon as I started using a weekly view, I just felt like that was so much better, because you can see your whole week. And so I think that's why, to me, it sort of lends itself a little bit more to some other kind of use where it's not an advantage to be able to see the week, because using this as a gratitude book, like, it really doesn't matter to me if I can see the whole week in a glance or not. But obviously, as with all of these things, that's personal. It's, you know, it might be totally fine for you to use this as a planner. And the good thing about using this as a daily planner is that you have a lot of space. So considering the small size and, you know, the fact that it's only A6, the small grids and the layout mean that you do have a lot of room to write on. So I think for this would be very good in terms of space for a daily planner. But yeah, you get these couple of sheets of blank pages, and then you have the extras, which are the same in all of the different types of Hobonichis. There's the timetable, one sheet of graph paper, which I guess is for like making a chart or something. And then you've got favorites, anniversaries, gifts, and some information sheets. And at the end you've got addresses, and then another page of gridded paper that says remember this. This age chart, which I think is really cool, you look up the year that someone was born, and then it tells you how old they are now, or how old they would be. And then your like personal details. And then, as always now, I think from last year onwards, the Hobonichis have, each one is stamped with a serial number. And then it has this like kind of creamy sort of cardstock. And that's the back cover. Okay, so that was the first one. And then the second one obviously is going to be pretty much the same, so I won't spend much time going through it. But you have the same cover, Hobonichi Techo 2016 Avec. The same year on 2 pages, 2016, 2017. And then the vertical months start in July. So you can't like kind of do backwards tracking, I guess, because the assumption is that you would have all of that in here. And it goes forward, interestingly, until June of 2017. So you can do quite a bit of forward planning in this. So this runs from July to December 2016, and you've got a whole extra 6 months for forward planning, which I really like. This is something that used to be in Moleskines, and they took them out for this year, which I thought was really a shame, because that used to have a whole extra year for forward planning, just like this, a vertical grid. And I think that that's really useful. By the time you're getting, like, you know, here, if you're getting into like kind of October, November, you already have quite a lot of stuff to plan, appointments and, you know, events and things into the next year. So that's really useful. And then you have your month on 2 pages, which again starts in July and runs until March 2017. So again, it gives you 3 extra months for forward planning. And they've done something new this year, which is they've put in 2017 here. It's kind of faint, so you might not be able to see it, but there. Which is really useful because that stops you from getting confused at which January you're looking at. And then as usual, you've got the notes page at the beginning of the month. And then these are the colors. So July is a kind of teal. And then you have a like kind of really dark purple for August. A sort of like coppery brown for September. And then a purple for October. A sort of dark green, it's like a teal for November, and a sort of pink, orangey pink for December. And so it goes through until the end of December 2016, and then you just have 1 sheet of gridded paper here, and then you have I think the same extras, the timetable, the 1 sheet of graph paper with the like little thing at the side for tracking favorites, anniversaries, gifts, etc. So all of this is exactly the same. And then you have serial number, which is different. So that's kind of weird because this serial number is completely different from this one. Just out of curiosity, if you're wondering, 4005140. That was the first half, and the second half is 4054173, which is kind of funny because you'd think that either they should be the same or else they should like be consecutive, but they're not. So yeah, I would say that the kind of sort of overall impression of this compared to the original is I think that it's really convenient having these divided into 2 books, either because your one book would get really bulky with stickers and washi tape, or just because it's so thin. Even if you just were writing in this and didn't fill it with stickers and you know, and paste things in, it's still nice to have such a lightweight book. The thing that was concerning me, like I mentioned, was the idea of not having the whole year, because one of the reasons that I like bound planners is that I like at the end of the year being able to take it, put it on the shelf, and like that's it, it's archived, and you know, like have the whole year to look through. So that kind of bothered me, the idea that, you know, it's like two different books. But I sort of think that it's worth it. For one thing, if you're carrying it around, because all year you get to carry around something that's so light, and I think that's really important. So to me, that seems, you know, that the fact that you have then two books to put on the shelf at the end of the year instead of one seems a small price to pay. And I'm not even really sure, like in my case, I want to get rid of things, and so I like the idea of keeping bound books, but I'm not sure for something like a gratitude journal. I don't know how long I would keep it, so maybe that's not even a consideration. And other than that, I don't really feel like you lose anything having the two books separate, because like I said, you've got space for forward planning, so that's taken care of. It depends, I guess, on how often you'd have to go back and refer, like when you're out, which is why I think I wouldn't use this as like a work planner or something, because for that I often have to reference things that I've written down earlier. But I think, you know, for something like a gratitude journal, it really doesn't matter. It's fine. The only other thing that I kind of wonder about is these extras. I would have rather had more blank paper at the end, especially because in the second book you hardly get any. You only get one sheet. You do have the blank page at the beginning of every month. So I guess that is... that's something more. But I just think rather than having these, especially because you've got them in the first book, it might be nice to have some blank pages, because I personally never use these, but some people might, and in that case it would be good to have them twice. Especially like if you have a timetable and you want to copy that over, or if you're tracking something. So yeah, I think that's it for my Avec review. I hope that you found this enjoyable. I'll update you when I started using it and let you know how it goes. And in the meantime, I'll be back soon with another review of my other Hobonichi things. So thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!